Right now, there are approximately 1 billion pigs alive on this planet. That's nearly the same as cattle. But the pig has been humanity's most intimate food animal. Not because we chose it carefully, but because the pig chose us back. The pig is the only major livestock animal that eats almost exactly what humans eat. This is the story of the pig, the animal that fed every army, funded every emperor, and became the most controversial creature on a plate. Let's get into it. Most animals we domesticated, we hunted first. We caught them. We bred them into submission over generations. The aurochs, the wild horse, the wolf, these were animals we overpowered. The pig is different. The pig came to us. About 9,000 years ago, the wild boar, Sus scrofa, began gravitating toward early human settlements in the Near East and China. Not because humans lured them, but because humans produced garbage. And garbage was food. And the pig is, above all else, an opportunist. Wild boars that stayed near settlements survived better than those in the forest. The slightly less aggressive ones, the slightly less fearful ones, lived longer. Generation by generation, without anyone planning it, the wild boar was selecting itself for domestication. Scientists believe the pig was domesticated at least twice independently, once in the Near East and separately in China. Two cultures, two continents, same conclusion. The pig is useful. Today's domestic pig still carries 98% of the DNA of the wild boar. It isn't a different animal. It's a wild boar that decided civilization was more convenient than the forest. A domestic pig, if it escapes and returns to the wild, begins reverting to wild boar characteristics within a few generations. The tusks grow back, the fur thickens, the temperament changes. No other major livestock animal does this. The pig never fully gave up who it was. The pig came to us willingly. But what humans built around the pig, that was anything but simple. Before refrigeration, before canned goods, armies ran on pork. The reason is simple. A pig reaches slaughter weight in 6 months. A cow takes 18 to 24. The pig is the fastest protein machine in the barnyard. Salt pork could survive for months without spoiling, on a ship, in a trench, on a long march. The Roman legions carried it. The Spanish Armada carried it. The British Royal Navy standardised a daily ration of 1 pound of salt pork per sailor per day. Christopher Columbus brought pigs to the Americas on his second voyage in 1493, not as pets, as walking rations. Those pigs bred across the Caribbean and American Southeast. Within 50 years, feral pig populations were exploding across the Americas, radically transforming ecosystems that had never encountered this animal in their entire evolutionary history. Today, feral pigs, descendants of those original Spanish introductions, are one of the most destructive invasive species in North America. There are an estimated 6 to 9 million feral pigs in the US alone, causing over $2.5 billion in agricultural damage every year. Columbus's walking rations are still eating American crops 5 centuries later. The pig fed armies. But in 2 of the world's oldest religions, eating the pig was not just forbidden, it was a moral catastrophe. Judaism and Islam both forbid pork. Together, that's roughly 2.4 billion people, about 30% of the global population, who do not eat the world's most widely consumed meat. The Torah calls the pig tameh, unclean. The Quran echoes, pork is haram. This prohibition has held for over 3,000 years. Scholars have proposed many theories. The anthropologist Marvin Harris argued it was ecological. In the hot, arid Middle East, pigs compete directly with humans for food and water while providing no secondary products. Others argue it became a marker of identity, a way for ancient Israelites to distinguish themselves from surrounding cultures who all ate pork enthusiastically. Refusing pork wasn't just diet. It was a declaration, we are not them. And that made pork a weapon. When the Greek king Antiochus IV Epiphanes desecrated the Jewish temple in 167 BCE, he sacrificed a pig on the altar. That act triggered the Maccabean revolt, the event Jews still celebrate as Hanukkah today. During the Spanish Inquisition, eating pork publicly was used as a test of Christian orthodoxy. Jewish and Muslim converts who refused pork were suspected of secretly practicing their original faith. The ham on a Spanish dinner table was, for centuries, both a meal and a loyalty oath. Religion made the pig a symbol of power and identity, but it was commerce that turned it into something else entirely. There is a saying in traditional French cuisine: everything in the pig is good. For most of human history, this wasn't just a culinary preference, it was economic necessity. The pig was the first zero-waste animal. Its meat was eaten fresh or cured. Its fat, lard, was the primary cooking fat across Europe and Asia for thousands of years. Its skin became leather. Its bristles made paintbrushes and toothbrushes. Its intestines became sausage casings. Its bones made glue and fertilizer. In pre-industrial Europe, the annual pig slaughter, the Matanza in Spain, the Schlachtfest in Germany, was one of the most important events of the rural calendar. Entire communities processed their pig together. One pig, slaughtered in November, was the difference between surviving winter and not. The phrase "bringing home the bacon" is literally about pigs. In 12th century Dunmow, England, a church offered a side of bacon to any married man who could swear he had not quarrelled with his wife for a year and a day. To bring home the bacon meant proving you had a stable household, because a stable household could afford to keep a pig. The idiom is 900 years old. The pig was survival. But then came industrialisation, and the pig stopped being a community animal and became a production unit. No country in history has had a deeper relationship with the pig than China. The Chinese character for home, jia, is a pig under a roof. Not a family, not a hearth, a pig. So central was the pig to the idea of stability and prosperity that it was literally written into the word for home. China today consumes 50% of all pork produced on Earth. Half of the entire planet's supply. China has more pigs than the next 43 countries combined. When Chairman Mao launched the Great Leap Forward in 1958, pigs were classified as strategic resources. Raising pigs was a patriotic duty. In 2019, African swine fever swept through China, a viral disease with near 100% pig mortality. It wiped out an estimated 40% of China's entire pig population. Over 200 million animals dead in under 2 years. Global pork prices spiked. Farmers across the United States, Brazil, and Europe scrambled to fill the gap. A pig disease in China moved commodity markets around the world. In 2013, China's largest pork producer purchased Smithfield Foods, the largest pork company in the United States, for $7.1 billion. The largest Chinese acquisition of an American company at that time. China didn't import pork. It bought the factory. American pigs are now partially owned by a Chinese company, and the national security implications were barely discussed until years later. China showed what pork means at a national scale. But it was America that industrialized the pig, and industrialized the suffering that came with it. The modern pork industry does not want you to see where your bacon comes from. That isn't an opinion, it's a legislative fact. In the United States, 13 states have passed ag-gag laws that make it illegal to film inside a livestock facility without the owner's permission. These laws exist because undercover footage had become the industry's biggest public relations crisis. The majority of the 130 million pigs slaughtered in the US each year live their entire lives indoors, in spaces so crowded that turning around is difficult. Pregnant sows are kept in gestation crates, metal stalls so narrow the animal cannot turn around for up to 16 weeks. The EU banned gestation crates in 2013. The United States still permits them in most states. Pigs in these conditions develop repetitive, purposeless movements caused by extreme stress and confinement. Tail biting becomes common. The standard industry solution is to cut off piglets' tails at birth without anesthesia, called tail docking, so they have nothing to bite. In 1995, a lagoon at a North Carolina hog facility ruptured. 25 million gallons of liquid pig waste flowed into the New River, twice the volume of the Exxon Valdez oil spill. It killed tens of millions of fish. One of the worst agricultural environmental disasters in US history. It received minimal national coverage. The facility reopened. The industry hides its operations, but the science of the pig has been revealing something that makes all of this harder to ignore. Pigs are not what you think they are. In cognitive tests, pigs consistently outperform dogs. They are one of a very small number of non-primate animals that have passed the mirror self-recognition test, the gold standard of self-awareness in animal cognition research. Pigs form complex social bonds, display empathy for other pigs in distress, and communicate with over 20 distinct vocalizations. Cambridge University researchers in 2021 taught pigs to play a simple video game using a joystick, nudging it with their snouts to move a cursor on a screen. They maintained performance beyond what food reward alone could explain. They appeared to enjoy the challenge itself. We know all of this. We have known much of it for decades. And yet the conditions of industrial pork production are designed around the assumption that the pig's inner life does not matter. The pig's cardiovascular system is so similar to humans that pig heart valves have been used in cardiac surgery since the 1960s. Over 1 million patients have received porcine heart valves. In 2022, surgeons at NYU Langone successfully attached a genetically modified pig kidney to a human patient, and it functioned for over 50 days. The animal whose cognition rivals a 3-year-old child is also the animal whose heart is keeping human adults alive. Medically, the pig saves us. But in one corner of the world, the pig was also turned into something close to art. Not all pigs are created equal. In Italy, Prosciutto di Parma has been produced in the same region for over 2,000 years. The pigs are fed on whey from Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, cured with only sea salt. Hung for a minimum of 12 months, some for 36. A single leg can sell for over $500. In Spain, the Jamon Ibérico de Bellota goes further. These heritage breed pigs spend their final months roaming oak forests, eating only fallen acorns. The acorn diet transforms the fat composition of the muscle, creating oleic acid profiles similar to olive oil. The legs hang for up to 4 years. A single leg can cost over $4,500. A slice is thinner than paper and melts at body temperature. This is the other pig economy, built on patience so specific that the EU protects it with protected designation of origin status. You cannot legally call something Parma ham unless it meets exact production criteria in a specific zone of Italy. The pig's geography matters as much as the pig itself. Spain's post-Civil War economic recovery in the 1960s was substantially built on pork exports. The pig was a deliberate instrument of national economic policy under Franco. Even their idiom for inevitable reckoning, a todo cerdo le llega su San Martín, every pig gets its St. Martin's Day, is literally about the slaughter. Spain built its modern economy on pork and wrote the philosophy of consequences in pig metaphor. At the luxury end, the pig is art. But the industrial pig has created a slow public health crisis that is quietly spreading far beyond any farm. Here is a number that should frighten you. 73% of all antibiotics sold globally are used not on humans, but on livestock, and the largest share goes to pigs. Not because pigs are constantly sick, but because in crowded industrial conditions, disease spreads fast, and antibiotics are cheaper than space. Low-dose antibiotic supplements were also found to make pigs grow faster. The economics were irresistible. The problem? Bacteria evolve. Expose billions of bacteria to sublethal doses of antibiotics for decades, and you select for resistance. Resistant bacteria spread through soil, water runoff, air around farms, and eventually into human populations. The WHO has classified antimicrobial resistance as one of the top 10 global health threats, projected to kill 10 million people per year by 2050, more than cancer kills today. In 2015, researchers discovered a gene called MCR1 in bacteria on Chinese pig farms. MCR1 confers resistance to colistin, the last resort antibiotic, for infections that had defeated everything else. Within 18 months, MCR1 was found in over 30 countries. The last line of antibiotic defense was already failing. It was found first on a pig farm. Industrial pork is creating a public health crisis extending far beyond the farm fence. But the industry also faces a challenge from an unexpected direction. The global pork market is worth over $300 billion a year. It feeds more people than any other single meat. And it faces pressure from three directions simultaneously. Animal welfare legislation is advancing. California's Proposition 12, upheld by the Supreme Court in 2023, bans the sale of pork from pigs raised in extreme confinement, even if raised in other states. Environmental pressure is building. Pigs produce far less methane than cattle, but pork production still generates significant emissions and waste. As governments price carbon, the economics of industrial pork will shift. And the alternatives are arriving. Cultured pork, lab-grown from pig cells without slaughter, is in development with costs falling rapidly. Plant-based bacon has reached mass-market shelves. And yet, global pork consumption is still rising. Growth is coming from Asia, Africa, and Latin America, where rising incomes translate historically to more meat. The pig is not going anywhere. The question is, what kind of pig it will be. In Denmark, there are more pigs than people. 13 million pigs for 5.9 million inhabitants. Pork is Denmark's single largest agricultural export. And yet, Denmark is also one of the world's leaders in animal welfare legislation and livestock emissions research. The country that profits most from the industrial pig is also the one most seriously attempting to reform it. That contradiction might be the most honest thing about this entire industry. Which brings us back to the question this series always asks: how did we get here, and what do we do now? 9,000 years ago, a wild boar decided that living near humans was a better bet than living in the forest. It wasn't domesticated, it wasn't captured, it made a choice based on survival. And we rewarded that choice by building an entire civilization on top of it. The pig fed our armies. It filled our pantries through winter. It was written into our language, our religion, our politics, our medicine. The character for home in Chinese is a pig under a roof, because without the pig, the roof didn't mean safety. And then we built systems around that pig that we are not fully willing to look at. We passed laws to make it illegal to photograph. We used antibiotics until they stopped working. We created a public health crisis, an environmental crisis, and an ethical crisis, all in the pursuit of cheaper bacon. That wild boar is still in there. It never fully went away. And maybe that's the thing the pig has been trying to tell us for 9,000 years. The deal we made was supposed to work for both of us. Subscribe for the next story. Let us know in the comments, what commodity should we cover next? I'll see you in the next one.